Update. I told my boyfriend I loved him right after we had sex. How badly did I mess up? I'm a 33-year-old woman, and I recently found myself in a whirlwind of emotions with my first boyfriend, who's 37. After a moment of intimacy, I blurted out that I loved him. When he didn't immediately say it back, I panicked and tried to retreat, telling him I wanted to move on. I shut myself off from him for most of the next day. But then, I received a text from him saying he missed me and wanted to go out that night. I decided to go, and during dinner, I reached for his hand. I apologized for ignoring him and opened up about my abandonment issues and how I can become self-destructive when I'm scared of losing someone. He was so patient and understanding. Later, we cuddled at his place, and as I started to drift off to sleep, he said, "Love you, beautiful." That's his sweet pet name for me. I paused, looked at him, and he reassured me that I didn't have to say it back, but I felt compelled to, so I told him, "I love you too." I rolled over, kissed him deeply, and then rested my forehead against his, feeling tears well up. I've longed to express those words since I was 14, and it felt surreal, like a beautiful dream. Now, I'm wide awake, writing this while he sleeps beside me. I have to get up in 4 hours for work, but I don't mind. One night of little sleep is worth it for this moment. It feels too soon, but I can't help but get excited about the future. So yes, I'm in love, and it feels incredible.
I made my ex think I was infertile so that he'd divorce me. I haven't really talked about this with anyone other than my wife, briefly, and my therapist in depth. I just need to get it off my chest. When I was 17, my parents arranged a marriage for me to the son of a man they knew. It was completely legal, and I didn't really have the option to say no. I convinced my husband to let me continue with school until we had kids. Looking back, I think he was just humoring me, believing it wouldn't take long before I had his child. I was so grateful for the chance to finish my education that I didn't even care at the time. A friend at school told me about birth control, and I skipped class one day to take the bus to a women's clinic. I asked about getting the depot shot. There weren't many valid reasons for divorce in our families, but infertility was a big one. I didn't start with the goal of hoping he'd tire of me not giving him what he wanted. But by the time I graduated high school, I figured it was my best chance to leave. For the next 3 years, I kept getting the shot in secret. I paid for it with money I saved from a part-time job he allowed me to have. The longer we went without having a child, the more agitated he became. I don't know how long he'd been discussing it with his family or mine, but by the time I turned 20, he decided my inability to give him a baby was grounds for divorce. He sent me back to my parents, and I stayed with them until it was finalized. I took what little I had and left in the middle of the night, knowing they'd just find another man for me, or discover the birth control, which would have put me in serious trouble. I got away. I finished my degree, found a job, and met my wife. Now, I'm having a baby because I actually want to, not because someone is trying to make me do it. I hoped I would, and dreamed about what life could be like if I could live on my own terms. But I never imagined it would actually happen. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, half convinced it's all a dream. Then I look over and see my wife and our cats hogging the covers, and I remember that I succeeded. Sometimes I feel guilty for tricking my ex-husband. Other times, I think I could have done worse. Most of the time, I just try not to think about it at all. I'm sorry if this is all over the place. I'm trying to be vague about identifying details, and pregnancy insomnia isn't helping my ability to be concise.
My son has become a red pillar, and I blame myself. His father was extremely abusive to me, breaking my ribs and nearly taking my life. When I left him, I promised myself I would raise my son to be a better man. I wanted him to respect and care for women, to never fall into the same patterns as his father. For a while, he did just that. He called himself a feminist and was genuinely sweet to his now ex-wife. I felt proud of him. But then, everything changed. His ex-wife cheated on him, and his world crumbled. He began to harbor resentment towards women. When I tried to remind him that not all women are like that, he started to distance himself from me. He fell into the red pill ideology, finding validation in their harsh words when I couldn't reach him. They told him every woman was untrustworthy, and despite our conversations, he wouldn't listen. Now he's married to a kind woman, 6 years younger than him, who adores him. Yet he cheats on her and is emotionally abusive. She's 6 months pregnant, and when I went to visit them, one of his affairs called her to spill the truth. She confronted him, and he turned the blame on her, claiming her pregnancy had been too stressful for him. My heart broke for her. After crying her heart out, she still made us breakfast. I tried to reprimand him, but he shrugged me off. I warned him he would lose a good woman, but he just laughed it off, as if her leaving would be a relief. I can't help but feel responsible. I taught him to respect women, but I failed to show him that they can also hurt. In my effort to shield him from his father's legacy, I painted an overly rosy picture of women. When his ex shattered that image, he stopped trusting me. He has now swung to the complete opposite of what I taught him. I realized that in my own trauma, I failed to give him a more nuanced view of the world. He's becoming just like his father, and it feels like there's nothing I can do to stop it. The one silver lining is that he doesn't drink. He witnessed the destruction his father caused while drunk, and it disgusts him. Even now, he refuses to drink, fearing he might lose control.
Do you have a butt? Read this. Every year, countless young people hear the words, "You have colorectal cancer." It's a diagnosis that shakes you to your core. Colorectal cancer is the deadliest cancer in men under 50 and the second most common in young women. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be this way. Colorectal cancer is one of the most preventable cancers, and it's highly treatable if caught early. So why is it affecting so many young lives? The answer is stigma. No one wants to talk about bowel habits, rectal bleeding, or colonoscopies. Because of this silence, many people remain unaware of the symptoms. Too often, these symptoms are dismissed by healthcare providers, leading to late diagnoses. Advanced colorectal cancer has a survival rate of just 13%. While science is still working on a cure for every case, awareness, better screening access, and taking symptoms seriously are crucial. Here's what you need to know. CRC rates in those under 50 are rising. Many are diagnosed in their 20s to 40s, often after being misdiagnosed. A close family member with CRC doubles your risk. Conditions like Lynch syndrome or FAP increase your risk even more. Screening saves lives, and there are various testing options available, including at-home tests. So why are we discussing this? This community is approaching 25 million members, and to celebrate, we've partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, a nonprofit dedicated to ending this disease. Here's how you can help. 1. Learn the symptoms. Bleeding, persistent changes in bowel habits, unexplained weight loss, and abdominal pain. Don't ignore them. Advocate for yourself. 2. Get checked starting at 45. If you're at average risk, you should begin screenings for CRC at age 45. Some may need to start earlier. The Alliance offers a screening quiz to help guide you. 3. Support the mission. Your donation can fund prevention programs, patient support, and research to end colorectal cancer. Even a small contribution can help someone get checked and potentially save a life. If you or someone you love has faced CRC, sharing your story can make a difference. You never know who you might help. My adopted daughter is related to me. I'm a 35-year-old man, and I have an adopted daughter, Lily, who is now 14. I adopted her the year she was born, after her parents tragically passed away in a car accident. Lily had 2 mothers, Blossom and Bloom, who conceived her using a sperm donor. Blossom and I were exes from university. She came out as a lesbian while we were together, and we remained close friends over the years. After Lily was born, both of her mothers lost their lives. They had no contact with their families, and at that time I didn't want kids, but I couldn't bear the thought of Lily being raised by strangers. As her godfather, I was able to legally adopt her, and I raised her as my own. Lily calls me Dad, and I call her my daughter. She knows about her mothers, and I've never pretended to be her biological father. Last Christmas, my sister gifted our family DNA test kits to explore our heritage, joking about who might have been swapped at birth. Lily, at 13, was eager to participate, but I hesitated. I worried about the potential questions that might arise, especially since her relationship with her family was still fragile. After what felt like an eternity, we finally received our results. I was surprised to learn I'm mostly Italian, not Greek, as I had always believed. but the most shocking revelation was seeing Lily listed in our family tree as my niece. I thought it was a mistake, so a week later, Lily, my sister, and I went to an in-person testing site. The results confirmed that Lily is genetically related to me, but she's not my daughter and not my sister's daughter. I reached out to Blossom's parents, and it turned out that Blossom had believed she was using a sperm donor because her father was infertile. After some time, I convinced her mother to take the test as well. The results revealed that Blossom and I are half-siblings. My father had donated sperm, which ultimately conceived my daughter's mother. It's a strange feeling knowing that Lily and I have been related all along. Now, she playfully teases me, calling me Uncle Dad, and joking about our brief relationship, knowing it annoys me. My sister doesn't plan on having children, and Lily is more than enough for me. In a roundabout way, I'm grateful our family lineage is being carried on in more than one way. This all happened nearly a year ago, but it was only after a coworker suggested I share it that I considered posting. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, but I may avoid anything that could compromise our privacy.
How do I gently tell my wife that I don't care to hear about her hobby all the time? My wife has an incredibly stressful job, and she's found it therapeutic to dive into creative writing. I love that she has a passion that brings her joy, but lately it feels a bit overwhelming. Her writing is fan fiction for an anime, one that I've seen some of, but it's not really my thing. What started as a small hobby has turned into something all-consuming. She spends hours at her desk on her days off, brings a notebook to work, and is constantly thinking about her stories. Our weekends used to be our special time together, but for the past month, she's chosen to stay home to write instead of going out. When I try to suggest plans, she seems disinterested and just wants to talk about her writing. I adore her, but I feel a bit lost. I want to support her passion, yet I also miss our connection. Today I tried to discuss her grandparents visiting next weekend, but she quickly shifted the conversation back to her stories. How do I tell her, kindly, that I need a break from the writing talk? I worry that if I express my feelings, she might feel hurt and stop sharing her excitement with me. After a tough week, we finally had a heart-to-heart. I realized how much I felt unseen and distant. I even ended up sleeping on the couch, feeling overwhelmed. But when I woke up to find her there with me, we opened up about everything. I shared how I felt like I was competing for her attention, and she admitted she noticed the disconnect too. She explained that her writing was a way to escape from the stress of her job, especially after dealing with a difficult case. I understood, but I asked her to communicate her feelings better in the future. We've since set boundaries, dedicating time just for us each weekend. We also created astronaut time, where we can be in our own heads without pressure to interact.
I know I struggle with expressing my feelings, but I'm working on it. Thank you for listening and for all the support. It's helped me understand her better. Update. My boyfriend of 6 months told me that I need to unlove the men from my past before I can love him. I wanted to share an update from my previous post. Unfortunately, it didn't end happily, but I'm grateful for the advice I received. After reflecting on the comments, I realized many people felt uncomfortable with how often I communicated with my ex. They also pointed out that my boyfriend's behavior was controlling, which I came to agree with. I approached him, acknowledging his discomfort with my weekly chats with my ex, and offered to reduce that contact. He seemed relieved, but I also expressed my concerns about his approach. I wanted him to communicate more openly, rather than just telling me what to do. But then, things escalated. He flew into a rage, screaming at me. When I tried to leave, he threw dishes and grabbed me, slamming my head into the doorframe. I ended up with a black eye and a busted lip. Thankfully, a neighbor heard the commotion and called the police. He was arrested, and I went to the hospital. I'm pressing charges and filing for a restraining order. It was a terrifying experience, but I'm grateful it happened early in our relationship. I appreciate the neighbor who intervened, and all of you who pointed out the warning signs. Though it wasn't the best ending, I'm relieved it's over. Take this as a cautionary tale. Just to reassure everyone concerned about my safety, I'm staying with a classmate who Mark doesn't know, so I feel protected. Thank you all for your support.
Finally got my 17-year-old daughter her childhood dream gift. I became a father at just 16 years old. It was a challenging time. My parents kicked me out when my daughter was still a baby, and shortly after, her mother passed away. I dropped out of school and juggled multiple jobs to support us. It wasn't until my daughter turned 13 that I finally found some financial stability. Around that time, I met my now wife, and in just 2 months we'll be welcoming another baby girl. Preparing for this new arrival has stirred up a lot of emotions in me. I feel guilty that I couldn't give my first daughter the childhood I can now offer her sister. Back then, I was just a kid myself, trying to raise a child. My wife and I often talk about these feelings. She mentioned seeing people on social media getting toys to heal their inner child. That got me thinking about what my oldest daughter might have always wanted but never received. An American Girl doll stood out. She had always dreamed of having one, but it was something I couldn't afford. So I decided to surprise her. I finally got her that American Girl doll. When it arrived, I wrapped it up beautifully and wrote her a heartfelt letter. Her birthday was in December, so she was completely taken aback when she received a gift out of the blue. Before she opened it, I told her that she didn't have to feel obligated to love it. I just thought it was important to acknowledge her understanding nature throughout our tough times. When she unwrapped the doll, I was unprepared for her reaction. She started to cry, overwhelmed with happiness. She hugged me tightly, and in that moment, I saw my little girl again, just like when she was 7. It was a beautiful moment between us, a chance to share joy before her little sister arrives. It felt like a healing experience for both of us.
I want to discuss moving in with my boyfriend, but we have a significant difference in income. Thanks for all the advice. I ended up bringing it up last week. As I mentioned before, both my boyfriend and I had been hinting at the topic, but hadn't directly discussed it. I was still unsure about how to approach it when he made a comment about how excited he was for us to live together one day. I asked him, "Well, did you want to? My lease is up in July." He said he did. We left it at that for the day, but got together that evening to work out the details. I shared my concern about not being able to contribute equally and how I didn't want him to feel taken advantage of. He reassured me that he would never want to put me in a tough financial spot and that we could find a fair solution that would help me feel more secure. We decided on a monthly lump sum for all expenses instead of splitting bills. I actually suggested a higher amount than he initially offered because I wanted to ensure he was being fair to himself. He seemed happy with that, and it definitely works for me. He keeps mentioning how excited he is to move in together. Just last week, he came over to help me clean my apartment for photos to show it. We're deciding together what furniture to keep, what to get rid of, and what to store. He's also suggested a couple of renovations around the condo, so we're planning to pick out materials together as a summer project. I feel really positive about this step. My boyfriend gave me the opening to ask about moving in, and I seized it. All went well and we'll be moving in together in June. To address the most common comment, we did discuss splitting costs proportionally, but ultimately decided on a lump sum. I see the benefits of proportionate splitting, but given my current financial situation, I prefer the lump sum. It's still significantly less than what I'm paying now, and it won't fluctuate, so I can count on what I owe each month. Many people have also mentioned chores. My boyfriend and I tend to do chores together. Right now, with 2 separate places, we each have our responsibilities. But when I stay with him for a stretch, we balance things out. He doesn't know how to cook, but wants to learn, so we prepare meals together and clean up afterward. We will each have our own bathrooms at his place. And on the days he volunteers at a local animal shelter, I usually take care of cleaning and cooking if I'm around. Generally, we treat chores as an opportunity to spend time together and be productive.
Update. My wife found out that my mother and I had been lying to her about our baby for months. After I wrote my original post, my mom took our son to stay overnight with my wife's sister. This gave us some time alone to talk. We spent about an hour just reaffirming our love for each other and discussing how to sort things out. I apologized and explained my reasons for lying. She shared that feeling involved in our son's milestones was just a temporary fix. It didn't truly make her feel present. Her main issue was the betrayal of my lie, which hurt her deeply. I thought I was protecting her feelings, but she made it clear that honesty was what she needed. She understood my intentions and even said we might laugh about this with our grandkids someday. I can't help but feel I don't deserve her. I opened up about my fears, particularly the worry that she might become suicidal. My uncle had taken his life after a stressful job, and I've seen how tough it can be for working moms, especially in her demanding residency program. She reassured me that she's okay, and voicing my fears helped me realize they were unfounded. We ordered takeout and watched videos of our son's first moments together. I even showed her a funny trick I tried, and we both ended up laughing hard. It feels like we're already at the stage where we can find humor in our situation. Thank you to everyone who responded to my last post. I've learned that marriage takes work, and I'm grateful we're moving past this. AMETA for sticking my freshly single mom with $20,000 of debt. I'm a 19-year-old guy, and for the past few years, I've been paying off a car loan that my mom took out when I turned 16. She gifted me a 2022 Nissan Sentra for my birthday. I never thought to ask how much she signed for, assuming her boyfriend at the time knew what he was doing at the dealership. He didn't. The original price for my car was around $20,000, but somehow they walked away with a $40,000 loan. They put nothing down, and the interest rate was 10% because my mom had bad credit and was unemployed. The monthly payments were $510. I didn't mind at first, thinking my mom's boyfriend would help cover it, but that only lasted 3 months. Since then, I've been stuck paying the entire amount. About a year ago, I tried to transfer the loan into my name, but the interest recalculation would add about $10,000 to the loan, so we decided against it. I moved out at 18 and now live with a roommate, but my finances are tight. My girlfriend's mom suggested I look for a more affordable car, and I found a used 2025 Corolla for $18,000. It's a better car for less than what I owe on my current one. I told my mom about my plans to get a new car and suggested she sell my current one. That's when she lost it. She insisted it was my responsibility and that the car was a gift that saved me $10,000 by not transferring the loan. The situation is complicated because she's freshly divorced and trying to support my 2 younger sisters. I offered that she could sell the car for about $14,000 to $15,000, but she refuses and is demanding that I drain my savings to pay for a car I never agreed to. Part of me feels like I don't owe her anything, especially since we've never had a great relationship. But another part of me feels guilty for not helping her when she's struggling. I'm just looking for some unbiased opinions on this. Update. My boyfriend threatened to break up over Miss Dior and now won't talk to me. Hi everyone. I wanted to share my story and express my gratitude for the kind responses I received before my post was removed. I truly appreciate the support. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 2 years. Overall, our relationship has been strong with just a few bumps along the way. But recently things took a turn over what I thought was something trivial. It all started one night while we were in bed. He was gaming, and I was on my laptop, looking for a new perfume. Since I stopped working to focus on my studies, I've been more mindful of my spending. I decided to look for a body spray with a similar scent to my usual Miss Dior. When he saw what I was doing, he mentioned how Miss Dior was my smell and how it attracted him to me. I felt a bit annoyed because I wished I could buy it, but it wasn't responsible right now. He then accused me of caring more about saving money than about him. I reassured him that wasn't true, but he insisted his sensitivity couldn't handle a new scent. I promised to find something similar, but he still wasn't satisfied. In the heat of the moment, he said he'd have to break up with me if I chose another scent. I thought he was joking and laughed, which made him go silent. I was frustrated, so I let it go and went to sleep. The next morning he left early and hasn't responded to my texts or calls since. I started to doubt how I handled everything and wondered what to do next. After posting, I was overwhelmed by the support and advice. Later that evening he reached out and asked to meet, expressing that he didn't want us to be in a bad place. I was eager to talk things over, so I went to his place. When I arrived, he still seemed disappointed, but he said he didn't want to fight. I felt the same way, but I also remembered some of the advice I received. I suggested we split the cost of a new Miss Dior, and in the meantime, I would find a good alternative. He wasn't convinced and reminded me that my birthday wasn't coming up anytime soon. I understood, but I felt we both needed to compromise. That's when he said, "If you're such a feminist, you should be financially too." That comment really upset me. I didn't know how to respond, so I left. After reflecting on the relationship, I realized there were other moments where he had been controlling and self-centered. I had brushed them off as minor issues, but I now saw them clearly. I asked him to meet again today, and I ended things. I feel terrible, but deep down I know I'm better off. So if anyone has advice for a nice, affordable body spray, I'd love to hear it.